It started off as a dare, but it went too far. I was trapped in a trunk, and there was no way of escaping. They piled more and more luggage on top of the trunk. I beat on the trunk, trying to force it open. I even screamed and shouted, but it was so loud that no one heard me. By the time things quieted down, it was too late. The jet's engines began to rumble. My heart sank. We were getting ready for takeoff. I suddenly regretted this whole idea. Why did I want to meet a millionaire in the first place? Let me explain. My best friend's brother works at the airport. He lets us help out in the special hangars from time to time. We carry luggage and pack the small aircrafts for a bit of money. Today, he told us we were packing a private jet that belonged to a millionaire. I've always dreamed about meeting a millionaire. My friends and I joked around with the idea of hiding in the luggage compartment. Then he dared me to do it. I don't like backing down from a challenge, so I climbed into one of the millionaire's unlocked trunks and hid in there. It was only meant to be for a minute, and then my best friend was called away. Now there was nowhere to go. I felt the aircraft take off, and then I imagined what the police of another country would do when they found me. With nothing else to do and nowhere to go, I calmed down, measured my breathing, and started counting in 1, 2, 3, out 1, 2, 3. It worked. At some point, my adrenaline-drained body got tired. I passed out. I woke up in the dark, cramped trunk. My body was aching. My phone was in my pocket. I reached for it and found that it didn't have any signal. We traveled like this for what seemed like days. But when I checked my phone, 5 hours had passed. That was when I felt the jet touch down. I heard the luggage doors open. Then people were talking in a strange language. Soon they rolled the trunk I was in down a ramp. I was loaded into a car, I think. My heart was racing. I knew that any moment they would open the trunk and find me here. But no one opened the trunk. I remember hearing an elevator and someone grunting when they tried to pick up the trunk. Some guy sat on my trunk and farted. It was terrible as the smell seeped in. I had to stifle a grunt of displeasure and hold my nerve. A few minutes later, I heard the sound of people stopped. I heard a door click shut. I waited a few minutes to make sure, then I pushed open the trunk to peek out. This time, it opened. I was in a hotel room, a very nice one. This was a penthouse suite filled with beautiful furniture, Persian rugs, and the most breathtaking view of the city. And lucky for me, the suite was empty. I walked around and looked out the windows and figured out by the language I was seeing that I was somewhere in France. I found the hotel's Wi-Fi password and logged in. I remembered that my parents would be looking for me soon, so I sent my parents a message. I told them I was going on vacation with my best friend's family. They didn't mind. It was summer vacation, and they'd encouraged me to get away for a bit. I called my best friend. He couldn't believe my story. He begged me to tell the millionaire what had happened. I couldn't, though. If I did, my best friend's brother would lose his job. No, I was going to need another plan, and I needed it fast. As a kid, I was always great at playing.
Ignored all my warnings, and now you've failed 3 subjects. You're not graduating high school. You'll have to repeat a year. What? Come on. Surely we can find another solution. How about I pay you 10 grand and you make my bad grades go away? Get out of my office, Jack.
I quickly walked off before he could see me. He was so smart, but he'd just been wasting his time over stupid things. And Mona publicly dumped him the same day when she found out because she said she didn't want to be with a loser anymore. I graduated high school with flying colors, and of course, Dad came to attend.
Oh. Hello, sir. I wasn't expecting to see you here. Well, I was hoping to see you graduate along with my daughter, Jack. Your daughter? What's her name? Brianna. What? Brianna is your daughter? Yes. In fact, she's the one who insisted I send you to school all those years ago. You have a lot to thank her for, son, including that lottery ticket you think you won.
I was gathering my stuff from the locker when suddenly I found Jack standing behind me. What do you want?
Brianna, I know what you did. What kind of crazy person gives away $10 million?
What? How do you know that?
It doesn't matter. Just tell me, why did you do that for me?
Jack, when I saw you as a kid on the roadside, it broke my heart to think you didn't get as lucky as me to be born to rich parents. That lottery ticket was also just dumb luck. I didn't do anything to deserve it, but I really believed you deserved a better life. I still believe that, and I don't regret giving you the money at all.
I can't believe I was such a terrible jerk to the best person in my life. I'm really, really sorry. I don't deserve your forgiveness or your friendship, and I won't ever bother you again. Goodbye, Brianna. I hope you have a wonderful life.
He walked away, and I had a lump in my throat as I walked. A few years later at university, I was studying in the library one evening when I realized it was quite late. As I was walking back to my apartment, I suddenly felt like I was being followed. I looked around to find two masked men right behind me. I tried to run, but they caught up instantly, and one of them snatched my bag as the other pushed me to the ground. Just then, someone came out of the shadows and punched one of them. To my shock, I saw it was Jack. The two men started beating him up as I screamed for help. Just then a policeman came around the corner and the two men ran away. I called an ambulance and immediately rushed Jack to the hospital. He was unconscious and in really bad shape. He went into a coma. 10 days later, I was sleeping on a chair by his bed when I felt a hand on mine. Oh my God, you're awake?
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. Jack, why were you there that night? How did you even know where I was?
I regret what I did to you so much, Brianna. So I made a promise to myself to always look out for you. I was too stupid to notice, but all those years, you were my guardian angel. You watched over me and stood up for me when no one else did. I owe you my life forever, and I love you, Brianna.
Finally, you sound like that sweet boy I used to be friends with. I forgive you, Jack, and I love you too. And with that, I leaned in for a kiss. Relaxing in a beautiful hotel in Paris with the cutest French boy smiling at you from across the pool is just perfectly splendid in every way. My personal assistant / best friend Lexi rushed towards me while holding a letter. She read it out loud. Fancy a date on my yacht tonight? Meet me at 7 on the harbor. The boy across the pool winked at me. That night, I learned that his name was Pierre, and he treated me like a princess. But our splendid date was interrupted by a panicked call from Lexi. Your dad's secretary called, and he's just sent the jet for us to leave right now. Ugh, he must have been mad because I'd been absent from school for a week now. I so didn't need school. I said my goodbyes to Pierre, who said he wanted to see me again, but I just smiled and left. Oh, hey there. My name is Blair, and I have an almost perfect life. I'm as smart as Einstein himself. There's only one little problem. I'm dyslexic. But it's no big deal because I have Lexi to read everything for me. I used to be number one in literally everything, but things took a wild turn when a foreign exchange student joined our class. Please hit that subscribe button before I tell you my whole story. The next day, my limo dropped Lexi and me off at our school, a very expensive private one, where only families with a net worth of at least $1 billion can attend. Blair, watch out! I screamed when I saw an angry dog charging towards me. What was it doing here? Pets aren't allowed. Francesca, my arch nemesis, picked it up while laughing at me. Good boy, she whispered, but I heard it. This insecure brat always found a way to ruin my day. Oh, hey, Blair. I'm giving out our newest luxury product, this $1 million perfume, for free. I thought you might need one. Thanks, Francesca, but I'd rather donate it to charity. The principal appeared and got angry when she saw her dog. Our dog mansion with 10 floors is currently being renovated, so my baby needs to roll with me. Ugh, what a show-off. The principal shut her mouth when Francesca gave her a stupid perfume, too. In the middle of class, I suddenly forgot how to breathe when the most gorgeous boy that I'd ever seen walked in. Everyone, I would like you all to meet Terrence, a foreign exchange student from Korea, and he will be with us for this school year. We were all speechless as we looked at him. Francesca immediately offered her seat, but Terrence just headed quietly to the back. Our math teacher then started the discussion and suddenly asked us to solve the area of a stadium on our tables. Such a no-brainer. The answer is, it's 69,963 square meters. We all turned to Terrence like we'd seen a ghost. He'd answered before me. Like, how? After class, all the girls flocked around him, including Lexi. I tried to smile at him too, but he didn't have many choices. We sold the stilettos to someone in India an hour later. My friend wired me some of the money. I snuck out of the hotel, making sure that I had a spare room card with me. I found a company that packaged the shoes and shipped them off to the lucky bid winner. While I was out, I bought myself new clothes and saw different parts of the city. I knew my host would be out until 7 p.m. that night, so I arrived back at the hotel with plenty of time to spare. Over the next few days, the millionaire followed her schedule like clockwork. She may have been eccentric in the way she dressed, but she was seriously organized. We traveled to a new city. The trip was much shorter and my time in the trunk was easier. I wasn't so stressed out this time. I opened the trunk in a new hotel suite. It was just as luxurious. Lucky for me, just as empty. Days passed like this. I snuck out, saw a bit of the city, and got back before the millionaire arrived home. We traveled through 5 famous cities in this way. I was getting used to this routine. Well, I was until the millionaire decided to do something that wasn't in her diary. On a Saturday afternoon, I listened from the closet as she changed her plans. She was going to have a party in her suite, and it was going to start in 30 minutes. I had nowhere to go. I was stuck in this closet. I listened as people flooded into the suite, bringing food, music, and entertainment. The party began. I listened from the closet. It sounded like people were having a good time. I would have fallen asleep like this if I didn't hear the closet door opening. I held my breath. It was the millionaire. She was trying to hang up her coat, but she kept missing the hook inside the door. She giggled as she did this. She was behaving very differently to the way she normally did in her room. She was much more relaxed. I tried to make myself as small as possible, but the coat kept falling. It landed on me. She reached for it and squealed when she touched my hair. I tried not to move, but I couldn't help it. She pulled the coat off me, seeing me hiding in the corner of this tiny closet. I knew that it was over now. My mind raced with what would happen next. Would she send me to jail once she found out I had stolen her items? I was about to apologize to her, to tell her that I was sorry for hiding out and selling her things, when she interrupted me. "My dear, what are you doing in the closet?" she said to me. "Don't be shy. Guests need to mingle." She helped me out of the closet and welcomed me to the party. She told me that there were better places to hide if I didn't want to speak to people, like the balcony because of its view of the city. I noticed the glass of wine in her hand and I felt relieved. The alcohol was making her a lot friendlier, even to someone she'd found in the closet. There must have been 100 people there. I don't think she knew more than 5 of the guests, and she thought that I was one of them. I spent most of the night talking to the millionaire fashion designer. It turns out she was a pretty cool person. We actually had a few things in common. In fact, we were both from the same small town, the home that she grew up in. She told me how boring most of these parties were, but she was really enjoying this one for a change. We spoke about what she planned next in her business and how she'd become so successful. We danced, laughed, and had an amazing time. I met some very interesting people at this party. I also ate a lot of candy.
Smile back. What a snob. I snatched Lexi away from him and told her to cut it out. Do that again and I'll fire you.
Oh, come on, Blair. He's literally perfect. He's like Lee Min-ho.
He's not my type. Terrence might have heard that because he turned to me, but so what? He snubbed me and first impressions last. Every year, our principal holds an auction party, and this year, all the proceeds would be going to poor children in Africa. The last item to be auctioned was a beautiful pearl with a special history. It cost around $50 million. As expected, Francesca and I started the bidding battle. 100 million, 200 million, 500 million. 1 billion. Then the principal asked if anyone wanted to go any higher. Lexi leaned closer to me and tried to stop me, but I couldn't let Francesca win. 2 billion. 10 billion. Silence filled the room when a male voice joined in and said, $100 billion. Everyone turned to the back. It was Terrence again. He really was something else. The principal declared, "Wow, that's a new record. Sold." My eyebrows shot up when I saw Francesca offering him a handshake in a flirty way. Lexi said, "I think you two look better together." Ew, stop that, Lexi. He's a snob and only loves his phone. During our finals week, as usual, I took a special oral exam because of my reading condition. When the results came back the next day, the blood drained from my face when I didn't see my name at the top spot. It was Terrence. He hadn't even been in our school a full year. Then Francesca appeared from nowhere and said, "Just accept the fact that you're a loser now, Blair." I asked Lexi to do some research on Terrence. I needed to know what was up with him. He seemed like the love child of Einstein and Bill Gates. One day, while I was rushing to the toilet, I bumped into him and tripped over. Jeez. His chest was as hard as a tree. I looked up at him and met his cold, brown eyes. I was expecting him to offer his hand, but the jerk skipped past me like I was trash on the floor. I'd never felt so humiliated. It was the first time a guy had ignored me. Lexi came to the rescue and helped me to my feet. He helped me when I tripped out of my helicopter yesterday. Sorry, girl, but you're not his type.
Francesca's comment made me furious. Thank God Lexi calmed me down, or else. During lunch, Lexi told me that she'd finally finished her research on Terrence. He was a young CEO in Korea, and his company develops games and software. That's why he's always on his phone. So, he's a self-made billionaire. Interesting. I was on my way to our campus's art center one time, and I stopped when I saw a board ahead. It had some words on it. Francesca and her friends were right behind me, but I didn't want to ask her for help, so I tried to read it myself. It seemed to be saying something about a vacation. I ignored the sign and continued walking. Suddenly, the ground under me collapsed. Someone caught me right on time before I was buried alive. I looked up to see my savior. It was Terrence. He let me go and dusted his uniform off. Don't you know how to read? It says, deep excavation ahead. I have dyslexia. Anyway, thanks for saving my life. Just be careful next time. My heartbeat was still going fast as I watched him walk away. A few days later, the principal announced the annual competition between private schools called the Battle of the Brains. I was so ecstatic when I was picked again to represent our school. I always aced it. The problem was, the competition would be all about teamwork, so I needed a partner, and Terrence was picked. Lexi came up to me and said, "Oh my God, I ship you both. This is gonna be fun." I ignored Lexi's stupid comment and told Terrence to meet me in the music room. We needed to talk about the competition. While I was waiting for him, I started playing the piano. I couldn't finish the song because I forgot the keys. Just in time, he arrived and continued for me. We were so close to each other, and it felt really weird. I was about to move, but the way he played was hypnotizing. I flinched when I felt a spark as our fingers touched. He looked down at me after he finished playing. That's how you do it. I don't need piano lessons right now. We need to plan a strategy. Just focus on the spelling. Memorize the letters of the longest words, and we'll be fine. Don't underestimate me, Terrence. How about you? Are you going to study? The dummy answered me with a poker face and left the room. Sometimes I really hated his guts in his gorgeous face. And seriously, he was so confusing. The competition day finally came and we were totally silent during the ride. He later fell asleep on my shoulder and I went stiff as a board. Should I move my shoulder or should I let him sleep in peace? The limo passed over a rough road which woke him up. He looked up at me and I immediately looked away. Can you, scoot over? You're in my personal space. My heartbeat went back to normal when he moved. I was so nervous during the game, but as expected, we made it to the final round. Terrence won the versus round against another boy, and then it was my turn. I needed to win this so we would be the winners already. I was shocked when the announcer said that it was a spelling round. Oh no. Spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Terrence gave me an encouraging look. I focused and wrote down all the letters according to my memory. I felt like passing out from nervousness when I slowly raised my answer. Correct. I jumped around in happiness and found myself hugging Terrence. When I realized what I was doing, I immediately pulled away. He then patted my head and smiled at me for the first time. And I must admit, he looked even more gorgeous. You did great. Well, thanks for your advice. Lexi showed up to congratulate us. Oh my gosh, you guys were so good. You two should get married already. Ugh, Lexi and her random fangirling. Terrence smiled at me in the hallway the next day, and it made me feel something in my stomach. What a miracle that he wasn't wearing his headphones and holding his phone in front of his face. Suddenly, the girls